sequels, am I right, guys? So, sequels have existed since the dawn of humanity, when the first person on Earth had his first son. And that was the first sequel, and by all accounts, it was a great sequel. Although, some people think the original is a little bit better. So then there was a sequel to the Old Testament, the New Testament. And the New Testament, I think it's a really good sequel. And that was one of the first sequels to ever appear. And then they started making movies. And then we got the bad sequels. So today, we're not going to be talking about bad sequels because there are plenty of lists on the interwebs about that. No, today we're going to be different. And we're going to talk about the weirdest, the wackiest, the wildest sequels to, and this is a big point, to both games and movies. Let's just jump straight into it, guys.
Is The Sun really a sequel?
That was him, fire him.
Just asking.
Alright, to kick off our list, we're going with truly the most horrifying sequel of all time, Son of Mask. I cannot possibly explain to you all how terrifying, how viscerally horrible this sequel is. It is literally an affront to nature. It just reeks of early 2000s. Even more so than me, because I was born in at that time. The sequel is to Jim Carrey's classic original, so most of the movie is taken up of scenes of a computer-generated baby and a really weird-looking green CGI dog fighting each other. Son of Mask is just, it's a headache. I mean, sure, the original was a little bit zany, but this one just takes it too far. Alright, next up on our list, Silent Night, Deadly Night 2, and well, I don't really have anything to say about this one. Just play the clip.
Garbage day! Huh? No!
I'm Michael Myers.
Oh no! Not Michael Myers from Halloween. Wait, why is there a Halloween movie on this list? Wait a minute. No! Silly Michael Myers. We're not talking about the original Halloween or any of the other ones. We're talking about Halloween 3. So, you're an Irish warlock.
Oh, okay. Don't touch my Lucky Charms.
Halloween 3 is just great. And for once, I'm not being sarcastic. It's generally a pretty spooky movie. And a great watch on Halloween, of course. But here's the thing. After the first two Halloween movies came out, they had pretty much set up a formula. It was Michael Myers stalking people. Pretty simple. But with the third movie, they decided to shake it up. And as I said before, made about Irish warlocks who turned small children's heads into bugs. Now, really, if I wanted to, I could do a whole video about this, but considering this is just a short item on a list, I'm basically just going to leave you with this single clip from the movie. It's the commercial that turns the kids' heads into bugs, and my god, is it insanely catchy and insanely annoying.
Happy, happy Halloween, 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 happy, happy Halloween, silver shamrock. Happy, happy Halloween, 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 happy, happy Halloween, silver shamrock.
The next sequel I will be discussing is Space Chimps 2, Rise of Xenu. And, guys, to be honest, I don't really know anything about this movie, but I know somebody who does. You might remember him as Mr. Art Critic. He was, way back when, I think in September, when we started off Season 2. And, I know he has quite a lot to say about this movie. It is his personal favorite.
Yes, what?
Space Chimps 2. We all know the obscure but now rising to greatness movie, Space Chimps 1, when I heard there was a sequel to this awe-inspiring movie. I could not believe my own eyes. I did not expect much from the sequel, but I have to say it was one of the most brilliant sequels I've ever seen. There was amazing amounts of the villain being villainous in a very Zortog way, which is he had set the standard for in previous movies, and we've all come to know and love all us true film enthusiasts. And what I love very most about this movie is that one of the scientists dies, and they get shot by the Wii remote, and as they dematerialize, it's a very dramatic, heart-touching scene in which the Indian scientist professes his love for her in a very non-convincing way, and then she dies. Beautiful. But I simply love this movie, and I truly believe that it's one of the greatest movies, or if not the greatest movie of all time.
Pac-Man 2, The New Adventures. Well, the original Pac-Man was a huge success in arcades and on home consoles. Pac-Man 2, The New Adventures is literally scoliosis. So, released long after the classic original game was released, it was on the Sega Genesis and the Super Nintendo, and you don't even play as Pac-Man. So, that's already a warning sign. In Pac-Man 2, you pointed and clicked at where you wanted to go. And it tries to be funny, and its attempts at humor are mostly just Pac-Man brutally injuring himself, and yeah, fun for the whole family, right? Don't you guys want to see Pac-Man commit suicide, guys, right? Anybody? Fun for the whole family. Fun for the whole family. This game is an existential nightmare. Fun for the whole family on many levels. Fun for the whole family.
Do you need some water?
Hydrogen peroxide. Hydrogen peroxide.
Do you need some water?
Hydrogen peroxide.
There's some.
Hydrogen. Fun for the whole family.
So are we like gonna
Larry the Cable Guy is a very popular comedian whose only joke seems to be that of,
I'm sure. Isn't that funners?
coincidentally, he's also Jeremiah Chestnut's favorite comedian. Anyway, this category is on the list because, well, Larry the Cable Guy has appeared in quite a few really bad sequels that no one seems to know exist. The Tooth Fairy 2, and Jingle All the Way 2, which was released in 2014, despite the original Arnold Schwarzenegger film releasing in 1996. So the sequel was released 18 years after the original. That's never good. You know what else isn't good? If your sequel stars Larry the Cable Guy. In December 2009, the hit game Angry Birds came out on mobile devices, and it was a huge hit. The company that made it, though, Rovio, just started pumping out them terrible sequels, some of which don't make any sense. Like, why do these even exist? Now for a quick list of every single Angry Birds sequel.
Front and back.
Okay,
Oh,
thanks.
this page and that page.
Alright. Angry Birds, Angry Birds Seasons, Angry Birds Space, Angry Birds Go, Angry Birds Epic, Angry Birds Friends, Angry Birds Bad, Angry Birds Fight, Angry Birds 2, Angry Birds VR, Angry Birds 8, Angry Birds Rio, Angry Birds Star Wars, Angry Birds Star Wars 2, Angry Birds Island, Angry Birds Transformers, Angry Birds Action, Angry Birds Gold, Angry Birds Holiday. Tell me something honestly. Do you actually care about any of these? Who would want to play Angry Birds in VR? Who? Why? Why, God? Why do you produce so many of these Angry Birds sequels? I am not interested in a freaking Angry Birds dating game. Angry Birds match. Who would just stop?
Angry Birds match.
Stop! Stop!
I think Angry Birds match is like a Candy Crush kind of game. I don't know if it's like a
It's a
game.
Candy Crush game.
There you go.
Okay.
I
Pick up.
don't think he knows what it is.
I
Don't
don't
tell
think
him.
he does.
Don't tell him I don't like him. So next up on the Opinionist, we have Sandlot 2 and Mean Girls 2. They have the exact same ideas, and it's just really bland and they're just kind of boring and lame. And I don't really understand their ideas. It's the exact same movies, but just with different characters. It's just unoriginal and bland. Who needs this? And they just make it more kid friendly. And
What's going on here?
it's just unoriginal
What's
and
going on here?
unfunny. It's just bad.
What is he doing in my chair?
It's kind of weird. Go away!
So, that brilliantly executed skit was to show how in Sandlot 2 and Mean Girls 2, they basically just replace all the actors. And man, I hate it when that happens. Freaking Evan. Jesus. Anyway, I honestly don't really have anything to say about them. They're bad. They're PG. Unlike their originals, they're bad movies. Wow.
Yeah.
Alright, so I'm finished talking about the ones everybody knows about. I just need a sequel that no one's heard of. Time to do some hacking. Huh. Alright, if I just enter the delta coordinates into the mainframe, then I should be good. Ooh, okay, well, I'm on some government websites, and, aha! I got it! I found a sequel no one's ever even heard of! The Opinionist 2 is one of the weirdest sequels of all time. This obscure sequel is released only on YouTube and Vimeo. Released on a YouTube channel known as Canyon Echoes. I've personally never heard of them, and they don't have that many subscribers. So, this sequel was a massive departure from the original, which, in my opinion at least, was a classic of its genre. But in the second one, it's just this kid talking about the neck of a fictional character. The neck! Yeah, it's about Lara Croft's neck. At least, that's what I can understand. The audio's pretty bad as well. On our show, we only talk about the most relevant of topics. Huh. Unlike this uncultured swine, am I right? This kid seriously needs to learn frame composition as well. I mean, like, half of the frame is just a whiteboard in the background and some plants, and then his head is right here. It looks like the frickin' Blair Witch Project. So, it's really long, unedited. There's no music, just him talking, which I think is quite weird. It's a strange follow-up to what I consider to be a modern classic, although it's mostly forgotten today. And there's a good reason why. So, Andrew, what's your most least favorite sequel?
That would probably be, Wreck-It Ralph 2. There was not enough Gucci in it.
Oh my god! He's so Gucci! Oh my god!
That mother hater.
It's actually Gucci, guys! This is so epic! Oh my god, he's hype! What's your least favorite sequel?
Well, a while back, they made, like, a sequel on Mean Girls, and it wasn't that good. Like, it was a really bad documentary, you know?
I don't think Mean Girls is a documentary.
Of course it is.
Alright, what's your least favorite sequel?
Sequel? Nah, man. We only watch indie films. I mean, sequels are for non-practitioners of meditation. Meditation. Sorry. And, yeah, no, sorry. I just like all the indie films.